I want to get into some politics before we get on out of here, as we've now entered the final month of Joe Biden's presidency. And for the sake of argument, it hasn't been a good one. The Democrats lost the White House, Senate, and House in the November election. Meanwhile, this week, FBI Director Christopher Wray announced plans to resign at the end of the Biden administration as President-elect Donald Trump takes office in January. The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. The Justice Department says only 3 of its 26 informants present had been instructed to observe potential domestic terrorist suspects on the day of the riot. The rest of the 23 appeared to have gone to the Capitol on their own accord. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. So 23 folks for the FBI were in the crowd. And we're just finding that out. Didn't hear anything about that for the election. Didn't hear anything about that when the quote-unquote insurrection was broached by Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee, by President Biden before her, by Democrats in both the House and the Senate as they articulated the belief that Donald Trump was a danger to democracy and using this as a profound, illuminating bullet point to make that case. And now here we are yet again finding even more evidence to Donald Trump's claims when he articulated that the process is rigged, the Democrats are this or that, they're talking about us, but look at what they do. We don't know all the details. It's a report. Justice Department comes out with this. That's not my big issue. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way.
Well, good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Give me a follow on X at @Green_Jericho. Also like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, or if you haven't in a while, make sure you double check that shit. And like and subscribe to my new channel, Green's House. So you saw that video, and I wanted to, there are a lot of clips out there, but I picked the Stephen A. Smith one because he was one of the main perpetrators of the January 6th bullshit nonsense, planned from the inside lie that we all knew it was. Just like last week I did a video about the findings in the Sweet and Sour Sniffles Plandemic Committee. After their 2-year investigation, they found out what we knew 4 years ago about the mask, about the poke, about the herd immunity, sunlight, all those kinds of things. We were right. We don't even have their budget. We don't even have a budget for research, and we were right. All we have are our phones and our computers and the people that we communicate with, the human beings that we connect to. And we knew that shit 4 years ago. So did they. And it cost us being the taxpayers, $2 million for them to figure out some shit that we knew for free. But since Stephen A. Smith was one of the main perpetrators of that nonsense, I wanted to play his clip, but you heard it. There were 26 FBI agent or FBI informants, CHS, confidential human sources, not actual agents, they say so far. But as we know, that shit's not true too. And watch that come out in a report that, oh yeah, you guys are right about that too. So if we're right about all this shit, then what do we need all these committees for? And what do they need these budgets for? And why do they need to take time to figure out shit that we could have told them a long time ago? You're not necessary. If this were a private run business, your department would be shut down because you're not giving us anything that we can't get on our own. Why are you paying us? Why are we paying you to tell us shit that we already know? That doesn't make any sense. But again, this isn't the private sector. This is the government They're big, bloated, and overgrown, and they got too much of our money. But you're telling us shit we already know. So why are you here? We knew that about January 6th. We knew that the feds had agents, and I don't mean agents like an FBI agent, but agents of their agenda, people to carry it out. Only 3 of them were there, quote unquote, on official business. The rest of them were down there breaking the law, and they didn't have permission to break the law. But why weren't they prosecuted? Why didn't we hear this a long time ago that here are 23 confidential informants for the Federal Bureau of Investigation who are up here doing crazy shit? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. It says nearly 4 years ago, a mob of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol with no weapons, of course, but they stormed the U.S. Capitol building in D.C. in a failed attempt to stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden's 2020 election win. The riot erupted following repeated claims from then President Trump that the election was stolen from him via widespread voter fraud, despite there being no evidence of such claims. No evidence, so your eyes aren't working. Don't believe these stupid eyes of yours because you didn't see what you saw. You didn't read what you read. You didn't see that video footage that you saw. You didn't see 2,000 mules. The new Watchdog report on Thursday revealed the 26 confidential human sources who were working for the FBI were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. The informants were not authorized to enter the Capitol or commit illegal acts, but 4 of them entered the Capitol building and 13 others entered the restricted area around it. Despite this, none of these informants have faced prosecution. For years, Trump supporters have claimed without any evidence that the FBI agents provoked the riot. Rather than putting the blame on the American citizens who came to Washington, D.C. on January 6th, at the behest of Trump, and then made their way to the Capitol where they broke through windows and ransacked congressional offices. See, they say at the behest of Trump, but Trump didn't tell them to come down there. Trump told them to go down there and protest peacefully because you're allowed to do that as an American citizen. It's okay for somebody with a microphone in front of thousands of people to say, go protest peacefully, because that's in the Consta, the Consta thing, the paper. The Consta, I can't remember. The thing. It's in there. It says we can do that. So it's okay for Trump to say that. It's okay. It's legal. It's in the Consta thing. So why are they trying to say that that's something bad? Why are they trying to weaponize that at the behest? Like Trump said, go forth and destroy that monument to their corruption. Right. The Watchdog report showed that there were no undercover FBI employees at the riot, but there were FBI informants, people outside the Bureau who give critical information to the agents and are sometimes compensated for their information and expenses at the scene. While there were no agents at the Capitol, the informants were not authorized to participate in the insurrection, meaning they did so on their own time. Members of MAGA took the report as a win. You stupid MAGA fuckers. Representative Thomas Massey, a Kentucky Republican who endorsed Trump's 2024 campaign, wrote on X, formerly Twitter, on Friday, for years, I was called a conspiracy theorist for asking U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz, what is that, velvet? Whether government assets participated in January 6th. Yesterday, I was vindicated. DOJ IG report confirms there were FBI confidential human sources in the crowd entering the Capitol and breaking laws. So it begs the question, why would the FBI have confidential informants in the crowd? For what? So if you have confidential informants in the crowd, that means you were expecting something to happen. So if you were expecting something to happen, then why didn't you have the resources there to stop it from happening? What is that? The Speaker of the House at the time, Nancy Pelosi, Trump requested National Guard soldiers, 10,000 of them, and she said no. So if you put those people in the crowd, that means you knew that something was going to happen. The FBI, the DC FBI, the chapter, the FBI chapter in Washington, D.C., didn't even communicate with the chief of Capitol Police. He didn't even let them know that they had people there. It was news to him after the fact. So why would you do that? That means you knew something. That means you knew something was going to happen. Either your agency had a hand in it or something. Because why would you put FBI informants, CHSs, if that's even all there was? I mean, now you've lied to us so many times that we don't trust you anymore. You're the boy who cried conspiracy too many times. You're the boy who cried you're not seeing what you're seeing too many times, so now we can't believe you. We knew what was going on with the sweet and sour sniffles. We knew that January 6th was a glorified post my team won the championship celebration that got out of hand. But to sit there and say it was an insurrection and those people were there to stop our governmental proceedings, they didn't show up armed. That would be the first thing you do if you're going to the Capitol building. You're going to be armed because you're going to assume that there will be armed forces there to repel you. Unless you're stupid. But you're going to take on a task that big, you're going to take that big of a bite, and you're not going to be armed. Please. We all know that. And again, you lied to us so many times. You're telling us we're spreading disinformation with our Instagram and our Facebook posts, and you guys are the main orchestrators. You guys are the Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein of mis and disinformation. You've somehow sewn their two corpses together and made one big weapon to silence us so we don't speak to each other and spread the truth. And we're supposed to believe that no, there were informants there. There were snitches and rats there, but no agents. We wouldn't do that. Yeah, you would. Vice President J.D. Vance wrote on Thursday, for those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy 30 months ago. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Georgia Republican, said another so-called conspiracy was that absolutely happened. The FBI had informants all over the Capitol complex on January 6th. What happened that day wasn't instigated by MAGA. It was feds posing as MAGA. It's believable. Anything's believable now. Trump also shared an article about the report on his Truth Social platform on Friday. Says, wow, this is big news. What a disgrace. Let J6 hostages out now. And he said that he's going to take a look at that as soon as he gets into office. And those, as long as they weren't involved in any vandalism or any violence or anything like that, then yeah, he's going to release them because that was bullshit. And you've heard them say, oh, it's worse than Pearl Harbor. It's worse than 9/11. It's worse than the Civil War. And that's just more lies and bullshit. Remember, this is coming from the old man. This is coming from the sniffer of young follicles, the largest consumer of warm butterscotch pudding in the country, the lost one himself. He said things like that. He said that it's worse than all of those major events in U.S. history. He could have done something about it. He could have let those people go, but he could have pardoned them, but who did he pardon? So he said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Oops, I did it. Britney Spears, oops, I did it again. So we're supposed to believe that January 6th was horrible, horrible, horrible. And then we're going to come to find out it wasn't. It wasn't exactly what you thought it was. Yes, there were a lot of people there. It was a large group of people. Ooh, scary. Yeah, it was a large group of people, and they were upset, but they weren't there to stop the proceedings. They weren't there to overturn anything. They were there to let you know how pissed off they were, and they know that shit was stolen. But we're supposed to act like this report is some kind of bombshell. Like this is news. Like we're like, oh shoot, there were? I never thought of that. Of course. You assholes, we knew that. We knew that. And I hope that this is the final nail in the coffin. I hope that this is the that this is on its deathbed, this whole believing what they tell us, believing their lies. But we knew that shit a long time ago. They're a bunch of fucking liars. You're releasing this report like we're supposed to be like, oh shit, what? Bastards. Meet me in the comments, people. You know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. I'm out.